let you know.
Okay.
I'm here to wake up the people. I'm here to wake up the people. I'm here to wake up the people. Knowledge to the brain, knowledge to the brain. I'm here to wake up the people. I'm here to wake up the people. I'm here to wake up the people. Knowledge to the brain, knowledge to the brain. Speaking to my people direct, we got a threat. 3 fists, make them see us as pets. We need to check mind states. Wait, you wait too late, we fall. Generations of many children will be lost. Subscribe to this channel and get the message through hip hop. Putting only truth in music is when it stops. Flip flop, the game is on us. The youth, they know what's up. They waiting on us. What's up? I'm here to wake up the people. I'm here to wake up the people. I'm here to wake up the people. Knowledge to the brain, knowledge to the brain. I'm here to wake up the people. I'm here to wake up the people.
Peace and Black Power family. Welcome to another Sarnetta TV House of Consciousness production. You already know what it is. This is your brother Sarnetta and my brother Jabari. And we are here to give y'all brothers and sisters out there some powerful information. If you already know by now, you know I've been up late. I told Jabari, man, I've been up late last night messing around with these Hebrew Israelites. I ended up going to bed at 5 o'clock, man. So, you know, I'm tired and I got a lot of stuff to do. But this right here is so important. I had to get up and document this story. So without any further ado, I would like to pass it off to my brother Jabari. And he can let y'all know. Let me know when you want me to play the video or whatever. But you can introduce the brothers.
Sure. First, let me say Ankh and Ma'ad and peace to the whole Sarnetta TV Studio Black News 102 family. It's always an honor to speak to you all. We are a platform that really discusses the most important issues to the African-descended, African diaspora community worldwide. And I'm really pleased that our dear brother Sarnetta is actually conducting what I would call the first national interview of Sen William Humphrey and his young son, Dion Humphrey. What you will hear is a really horrifying story of how this 19-year-old young man was attacked by the police and injured by the police and has actually continuing health challenges based on their attack of him. And you might say, if you hadn't been paying attention for the last 400 years, what did he do? Why would the police attack him? Well, I know, family, you know that he was attacked simply because he is a young Black man. And he was doing exactly what young, responsible Black men should do. So I want to say peace to Sen William Humphrey. You should know that Brother William is actually a member of the Shrine of Ma'at. He's a really important member of our community. He's based in Arizona, and I want to say peace to also his young son, Brother Dion. And we're going to actually play a clip of the press release, but I want to know, Sen William, Brother William, is there anything that you'd like to say starting out?
I'd like to say that this has to stop. The situation that we've been in, we're really incarcerated and displaced in America, and we're being treated as such. And all I would like to say is thank you to Sarnetta for allowing us to share our story, because it's very important that these stories are shared and the community knows exactly what is happening to our children, to the men and women in our community. And every injustice needs to be announced. It needs to be blasted so that everyone is completely aware, so that we can have peace, so that we can have equality and while we're in the nation that we help to build. So every injustice needs to be shown, and it needs to be addressed If there's any slight against any of our people, then all of our people are being mistreated. There has to be
Excuse
that
me, brother.
equality.
Mr. Humphrey, do you have anything else open on your screen?
You might be hearing the sound from both Brother
Yeah.
Dion
Yeah,
and
you
William.
got to turn it down. Yeah, you got to turn the sound down.
Yeah.
Your microphone on? All right. Go sit over there as well. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah, that helps.
So it was kind of choppy, but basically the sentiments that I was given is that we look at gravest situations, and we stand up for the most gravest situations that happen to us. But that's not the definition. That's not the bar for equality. The bar for equality is the slightest injustice based on being Black in America. Once that bar is completely level, those scales are balanced, that's when we have equality. And in this situation, this is a grave situation. That's basically all I wanted to say, and I definitely want to thank you for allowing us to be on your platform, Sonnet.
All right, thank you, appreciate that. Let's speak to the young brother Dion, or do you want me to get with the video first?
Maybe the video might be this might be a good time to play the video, and then we can hear from this young man himself and hear more about this situation.
All right, let's take it there.
Mom, it's time for lunch.
12 News, the United Food Bank, and Fry's Food Stores are all proud to present the Summer of Million Meals. Your donation will help feed families in need right here in Arizona.
Also new at 5, the family of a South Phoenix teenager is planning to sue the city and Phoenix police over what they're calling a case of mistaken identity. 19-year-old Dion Humphrey was hospitalized in January after police shot him with a rubber bullet, thinking that he was his brother. Team 12's Erica Stapleton has more from the family. They say that months later, they are still waiting for answers. Erica?
Dion Humphrey's family is asking for $11.5 million in a notice of claim filed last week, saying this whole ordeal left Dion scarred, both physically and emotionally.
As I was on the floor with a bunch of weight pushed on me,
19-year-old Dion Humphrey.
I started to tear up and think that this might be my last day.
Remembering the moments he was shot in the chest with a rubber bullet by Phoenix police and then brought in for questioning.
I felt alone and I was scared.
Phoenix police tell us some of their officers were working with ATF to track down Dion's brother Khalil Thornton, a suspect in a violent armed robbery. When they saw Dion walking, police say an ATF agent mistakenly identified him as Thornton. They used a flashbang, and when Dion started running, they hit him with a rubber bullet. At the time, Phoenix police admitted they got the wrong brother.
And it was learned that he was not, in fact, Khalil, but he was Dion. Nevertheless, Dion was taken down to Phoenix Police Headquarters, where he was interviewed on an unrelated investigation.
Phoenix police haven't said what that case is about, and Dion's family isn't buying that explanation. Dion and Khalil look different. Plus, Dion has sickle cell anemia.
Everyone understands he's very fragile. Yet, when the police saw him walking down the street, for one reason or another, they treated him as if he was some type of a huge threat.
The whole ordeal landed Dion in the hospital for about 3 weeks, and his father says Dion's doctor found scar tissue on his heart after he was hit by the rubber bullet. He might need surgery to have it removed.
And they were just trying to inflict pain.
The $11.5 million the family is asking for would help with medical costs, but his family also wants transparency. They say they have yet to see a copy of a police report or get any background on the officers involved.
We shouldn't have to worry about getting hurt out of nowhere.
We reached out to Phoenix police about the notice of claim, but have not heard back. We're in Phoenix. Erica Stapleton, 12 News.
Oh, man. Wow, powerful story. Good story.
Yeah.
Brother Dion, man, that rubber bullet, I can only imagine the fear that you had there. Your parents is not around. You around probably mostly all European cops?
Yes.
Hold on, let me get this out of here. Yeah, mostly all European cops. You around all white cops, huh? Brother Dion? Take us through the moment, like what happened? Where was you at? What was you doing? Just walking, going where? Oh, he probably can't hear me.
I started to walk back home, and I'm seeing these two white trucks, unidentified white trucks.
You don't have no headphones or nothing? No earphones? Yeah. Because it's real hard to hear and understand. Hollow.
Let's get those birds.
While we get the audio straight, I think that we need to just talk about some of what happens and understand that there are a lot of questions, really shady questions that you've even heard in the news report. I mean, they're saying that they were looking for his brother. If you look at the two pictures, they do not look alike. They do not look alike. Their frames are different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have to also recognize that if you were coming to actually apprehend someone, why immediately throw a flashbang and then shoot them? If you're coming to apprehend someone, the first thing you're supposed to say is what, Sonetta? Freeze, police. And so the manner—
Right, identify yourself.
That's right. So the manner in which they behaved it absolutely speaks to the disrespect that they continue to show to young Black men, to older Black men, and in fact, even to Black women. What they
Jabari,
should— Yes.
What gets me is that the rubber bullet land him in the hospital for 3 weeks. Piece of the rubber bullet is still in him or something like that. That is crazy, man. I mean, I heard about
what happened a little bit with the bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is what happened. There was a vehicle that threw a flash grenade out of the window to get him to run in the line of sight of another vehicle who stuck their guns out of the window and shot him at point blank range in the heart. They also shot him in his genital region. The bullet hit in such a way that it hit his artery, one of the main arteries in his heart, and it pinched it to the point that the blood circulation wouldn't continue. So today we have the technology to actually see, and we have pictures and recordings of actually what happened to his heart. So as I talked to his doctor, he shows the puncture of where the bullet actually hit and how it compressed his artery in such a way that the blood circulation stopped. So his heart above the wound area is fine. It's contracting like it's supposed to. Below the area, the blood stopped circulating. And because of that, his tissue and his cells didn't get proper oxygen, and it died. Over time, it became hard, and it no longer functions properly. It no longer squeezes the way it's supposed to. So he only have partial functionality in his heart at this point.
I hear that you still have not received the police report on this issue yet? Or they like covering up some stuff, trying to cover up some stuff, brother?
I went down to the police office where they hold the documents. They had a file. They had a case file there with the number. But when I asked for the documents, they told me there was nothing there, that it was blank. so I was not able to get any of the documents. I then went and got an attorney so that he can ask for the documents, and they didn't release any documents to him either. He filed forms in order to get them to release the documents, and they still have not released the documents. They haven't explained to us precisely if there's any video footage, but being that there was a special unit task force, we would assume that they have body cams. And being that they surrounded him in vehicles, we would assume that there are dash cams as well. They are not releasing any of that information to us voluntarily.
Wow, Brother Jabari.
Yeah, and I want to say that when you listen, even in the report, you can hear that there's so many holes in what officials and what the police are telling us. Once again, this speaks to the disrespect and disregard that they have for our lives. In many ways, what you're hearing is they would like to say, oops, sorry, no harm, no foul, even though this young man has a continuing injury to perhaps one of his most important organs. This is a really serious situation. And I want you to understand that when they say that the report is blank, doesn't that sound familiar? How many times do we hear that the actual report that officers are obligated to file has absolutely no information? Remember in the situation of Breonna Taylor, there was no information in that report. Remember in the situation with George Floyd, the report doesn't say that they compressed his back, compressed his neck, doesn't say any of that. And so I want you to understand that we must hold the police accountable. And when they are violating their own policies and their own rules, you should know, family, that they are hiding their culpability in one of the most violent acts that you could take against a young man. That's what they're doing. You heard him at the press conference actually say that he was alone. How does that feel for a father to hear that the police attacked his son and his son says that he was alone? This is the kind of thing that the so-called authorities do in our community. And it's reminiscent of the sorts of things that happened to us during enslavement, where the white enslavers would want to remind us that they are in control. That's exactly what we're seeing here. With regard to Arizona, I think you should also understand that Arizona, particularly Phoenix is the 5th largest city in the country. It's a large city, but it actually has more police shootings than New York, than LA, than Houston, or Chicago. This is an epidemic of police violence, and we have to speak to it.
Now, hold on, Jabari. You said Phoenix have more shootings than Chicago, brother?
Than New York, no, more police shootings than New York, than Houston, than Los Angeles, or Chicago. That's how rampant this is. And if you can actually listen to how they approach this young man, it should be clear that they are wielding their power with reckless abandon. This must stop. This must stop.
Yes, I agree.
This must stop.
Let me ask Mr. Humphrey real quick off the question about Phoenix. How is it out there, brother? Because Phoenix now is a state that they put on the list for high corona. How is it out there now, brother? COVID-19.
In reference to the COVID, well, being that my son has sickle cell anemia, we're taking extra precautions. The precautions that the city has given us, we started taking that way before they started issuing those precautions. We actually have a sign on our door asking people, not to visit. But the stores have limited stock. There's lines drawn in the street. People are wearing masks. I don't know if they're going to issue school to return anytime soon, but if they did, we wouldn't be sending our kids to school.
Right.
It seems like there's a another round of COVID spiking. We're in the desert. It's extremely hot, and COVID does not like the heat. So I'm not sure exactly why the COVID ran so rampant in Arizona. But being that my son had a doctor's visit, we had to take him into the hospital, and that's where you're going to see the most COVID cases is in the hospital. So we had to take extra precautions there as well. But it's COVID is definitely a huge thing here in Arizona. And we just stay out of it. We stay indoors, and we do not participate in anything at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Brother Jabari, you want to add on some more information, brother?
Sure. Could you, Brother William, could you talk about what Dion was doing when the police attacked him? Because I think that sometimes what we hear, the continued discussion that we hear around the police when they attack young men is that they must have been doing something inappropriate. And so I want you to even talk about what this young man was doing when they approached him.
Dion is 120% innocent. He has never committed any type of crime. He's generally indoors because of his condition. His condition makes him highly susceptible to even the common cold would cause him to be in the hospital for a lengthy time. So he doesn't really go outdoors. On that particular day, he was taking his sisters to school, to the elementary school. He dropped them off at the elementary school, and on his way back, right behind the elementary school, that is where the police decided to see him and charge him and treat him like he was an animal. So he was doing nothing more than taking his sisters to school.
Excuse me. Have they came out and apologized?
They admitted to being at fault. They say that it was a fault that is easily done. So they have not apologized. There was no apology. They made an excuse in the place of where an apology should go.
Good luck in the lawsuit. We definitely support that. And don't let them off the hook, no matter how long it takes.
That's right. That's right. I think that what we're seeing is we're seeing a family stand with a promising young man. We were on a prayer call yesterday, and you should know that so many members of the Humphrey family were on that call. They are standing together. This is what a Black family should look like. And so you had better be sure that the Humphrey family is not giving up. The Shrine of Ma'at is behind them. And we are going to make sure that there is justice that is given to this young man, is given to this family. We can no longer allow the police and other quote unquote authority figures to attack us with reckless abandon. The only thing that I can say to you that is good about this, the only thing is that they were sloppy enough that they did not take his life. Because you know that this could have gone differently. And that's another thing that we need to say, Sonetta. We have gotten so used to protesting and to struggling with the police when people are killed. We also have to make sure that simply because Brother Dion was blessed enough, was protected enough to still be with us, that we do not let them off the hook. It is critically important for everyone who is watching this program, everyone that feels that justice for Black people, justice for people of African descent is critical. It is key that you talk about this story, that you tweet about this story, that you share this on Facebook, that you actually assist us in getting the word out about what happened here. Because I am quite sure that the authorities of Phoenix would rather this be a local story. And so we want to also once again say thank you to you, Sonetta, for publicizing this on a national basis, because we know very well they would love for this to go away. so that they don't have to be held accountable for the things they did to this young man.
Right. In regards to the situation that actually transpired, they did several things that we wouldn't see in a white predominant society in the city, in the area. When they came after my son, they were in unmarked trucks, unmarked vehicles. They did not announce themselves as the police. They did not give any demands telling him to stop and freeze. They did not go about their normal policies and procedures. And then they compounded that. They realized immediately that they had the wrong person. The person that they were looking for was not raised in the same household as Dion. They are related. He's his half brother, his older half brother, but they were not raised in the same household. The police did go into other family members of Dion's older half brother. They went into other houses looking for him as well, but they went into our house, and he's not related to me at all. He is related to my son. They look nothing alike. Dion is not able to grow facial hair at all. He doesn't have any tattoos. He doesn't have long dreadlocks. He's a lot smaller than his older brother, and they don't live together. Mm-hmm. They never lived together. So they immediately realized that Dion was not the person that they were looking for, and they realized they made a gravest mistake. And instead of addressing that mistake and correcting that mistake, what they did was they tried to put other charges or a different case. They said, well, let's take him in. He seems like he's in very bad shape. He's really, really wounded. Maybe he'll die while he's in our custody. They decided to look at some other case who they did not announce what that other case was and say, okay, well, let's take him into interrogation on an unrelated case. The case had nothing to do with Dion, had nothing to do with his older brother at all. They just picked a random case and took him to the precinct in order to interrogate him and hold him in an interrogation room. They had him there for 4 hours while his heart was on the verge of bleeding out.
Did they at least contact you while he was in the interrogation room?
They did not contact anyone. They kidnapped him. They did not give him legal, they didn't give him an attorney. They just—
No phone call?
No phone call. They just let him sit in a room while he was in dire need of medical attention. My son explained he needed medical attention. He explained his condition, and they denied him the medical attention. They told him that he needed to answer questions in reference to stuff that was not even related to him or his brother, just to hold him there. Just to hold him there. They had no reason and no right to hold him once they realized they had the wrong person. But they decided to hold him for hours when he was in need of the medical attention. Damn. So they compounded the problem, trying to get out of the situation, trying to get him involved with something. Anything would have sufficed for them to lock him up so they can say, oh, we got the right person in this case or in that case.
All right, brother Jabari. We want to thank the brother for coming forth. What are the steps before we close out? Where are you today in this issue on the fight?
I have several attorneys that are taking this to the court system in order to get justice. We would like to see the officers that were involved fired. I called the precinct about a month after the incident happened, and I asked, how do I go about filing a formal complaint? The receptionist that answered the phone asked me several questions about Dion and about how he was kidnapped by the police. And she put me on hold for a moment came back to the phone and told me that it never happened. There is no records of the police involved with Dion at all. They never put him in the truck. They never interrogated him. None of that information ever happened. She said it was a different agency looking to other agencies, but it was not the Phoenix PD. And then maybe 45 minutes to an hour later, the exact 4 people who shot my son and wrestled him to the ground, stepped on his back, showed up at my house. 3 of them stood in front of the door while the other one was hiding on the side of my house. And they knew I just called to complain, to figure out how to file a complaint against those specific 4 people. They didn't send any alternative officers. It was that exact unit. The same ones that just attacked my son. An hour later, after I called to complain about them, they showed up at my house. So I was completely interrogated and completely confused on how they think that something like that is appropriate. But right now, we are filing a lawsuit against the city. And we're in the beginning processes of that. So I'll definitely let everyone know how that case is going.
And so it seems like they were trying to intimidate you as well, Brother William.
Exactly. They wanted to size me up. They wanted to intimidate me. They wanted to see what actions do I plan on pursuing. They did not give me any answers to the questions that I was asking them. They did give me their business card, so I was able to get their names. But from that point, once I got that information, and again, there's no reason why public servants, we shouldn't have their information available. There's no reason why I shouldn't be able to call the precinct and ask who these people are.
That's why they wear badges, right? So that you can identify them.
Exactly.
This right here, though, this is a perfect example of when people say this, Jabari, the marchers and the protesters ain't nothing. You don't get nothing out of protesters. See, this is where you show that they're wrong. Because if you had a mass rally behind you right now, that's where the pressure comes in for them cops being fired, because the power is in the people. So so when they see that you are like really alone and you ain't really got the power and the force and the people backing you, they ain't even worry about the police and nothing like that. So this right here is a perfect example of letting our people know when they say all them rallies ain't nothing and all them marches don't do nothing. See, that's where it shows you that you don't know what you're talking about, because the power is in the people. And if they seen the power of our people rallying and protesting behind you, brother, them cops probably would have been fired or suspended while they investigating the story, and it would have been a rush and hurry up job. But because they don't have that, everything now is on the hush and they ain't got no pressure to bring forth the information.
That's right. That's right.
You see? Think about that, Jabari.
That's right. That's right. You're dead on, Sonetta. I mean, that's exactly correct. And they would like for this to be a local story. They would like for this to fade from the headlines. I'm sure that the officials that are in control of the police department, they would love to actually say that COVID is such a big problem that we should ignore this. I bet you they're happy that COVID's a big problem, because they don't want to have to address the Humphrey family and the things that they did to their son. That's how bad this is. And so it is so important for us to make sure that people worldwide are asking for justice for Dion Humphrey, justice for the Humphrey family. It is critical. And I want you to also know, I put in the chat, actually, the GoFundMe. You also know that this case is going to take resources. You heard Brother William say that he attempted to go after the police to get more information himself, and he did nothing. So now he has attorneys. And so you need to know that we need to support this family. We need to make sure that they have the resources, because you look at this young man here, a responsible, appropriate, promising young man. That could be your son. That could be you. We need to make sure that the Humphrey family has the resources to not just fight for Dion and for justice for Dion, but fight for us all. So I really hope that you are going to get this out. I can see one of the priests of the Shrine of Ma'at talking to me, Abu Ka, Peace and Ankh Ma'at Abu Ka, saying that they want to interview you, Sen William, for Tuesday Talks, our show on the Shrine of Ma'at on Facebook Live, on Facebook.
Yes.
And we definitely need to make sure that we continue to talk about this story.
Yes,
We
and
have
Jabari,
to make sure the police don't get away with this.
yes, and that's good, Jabari. You threw the link in there. Throw that link in there again.
Yes.
Let the
yes.
people see that link, because this, like you said, this is what we need to do and stand behind our brother
That's
and
right.
support. Because when something like this go down in a white community or a Jewish community, all they do is come out one time, Jabari. You know what I'm saying? Talking about putting up a GoFundMe, and the next day you damn near see $100,000 in there because they support their people. With us, brother, it's like pulling teeth and trying. You know, it's just a shame.
Sarnetta,
we do each other like this, man.
You can't even say that loud enough, Sarnetta, when that criminal, that racist criminal, George Zimmerman,
I was about to say that.
Child.
Go ahead.
I think he had $150,000 in a GoFundMe within 30 days or less. And that was just one of them. That was just one of them. Sometimes those platforms would shut them down. He would open up a new one and it'd be filled with literally tens of thousands, and in some instances, hundreds of thousands of dollars supporting him. Now, I know very well that the people who are hearing my voice, the people that see this incredible father here, that see this incredible young man, know that we must stand. We need your support. Get the story out. Support this family financially so that they can actually take the police to the mat. We must balance the scales, family. We must balance the scales. You are looking at, look at the father for a minute, Sarnetta. You should know that he is not just a full member of the Shrine of Ma'at. This is a man that takes care of his family. This is a man that is doing important, the kinds of things that Black men are supposed to do in Arizona. And he's also a Sarnetta TV Studios watcher. That's what you're looking at. This man could be you, family. This man could be you. So we really have to make sure that we get justice. It is time. It is time.
What I think justice is a complete revamp of what the police think they're supposed to be doing.
Jabari, throw that link in there again. Somebody asking for the Cash App, but it's really a GoFundMe for the brother.
Right. I'm sorry, but Brother William, continue. What were you saying too?
When I think about justice, what I believe is if we can make a positive effect, if this story and this situation can be looked upon and we can have an outcry to the point where people are completely fed up of the system and we actually revamp the system. The police concept of their job is incorrect. Their training is incorrect. When you think about police training, you think about them shooting firearms, you know, learning how to aim correctly. You think about them in their vest and mace. You think about the police dog. That's police training. So if that's what they're being trained, when they come out onto the street, that's what they believe they should be doing.
That's right.
Right? That's what their training is.
That's right.
So right now, my son, he's dealing with this situation. This situation is not something that's just gonna blow by. Even if we're not in the press and we're not out there in the public, my son is dealing with this situation for the rest of his life. His heart is irrevocably altered and changed and is not gonna function 100% from the way God designed it. He has a percentage of his heart that will not act appropriately, cannot pump blood anymore. He has to take medicine every day, and that's probably going to be for the duration of his lifetime. He has a mental situation where it's hard for him to see the police. When he sees the police, he has nervous reactions. When he sleeps at night, he wakes up, he complains that, he doesn't feel right. He needs to take medicine to help him go back to sleep for his heart. He feels heart palpitations, gets afraid, and then takes medication so he can go back to sleep. This situation is not something that's gonna just go away from him. This isn't something that's affecting him and in our family for the rest of our lives. This takes precedent over every situation in our lives. There's nothing that's more important for us in this family. And justice would be making sure this doesn't happen to anyone else.
That's right. That's right.
All right, Brother Jabari, you could close us out, Brother Jabari.
Yes, yes. I just want the family to know that you are part of this struggle. You are part of the fight. You are going to be a tool, an element of justice. So what must you do? We're asking you to go to the GoFundMe and support this family so that they actually can take the police to task for what they did to this wonderful, promising young man. We're asking for you to talk about this case, share this video, thumb up this video so that more people can find it and more people are aware of what happened. As you know, Sonetta TV Studios, this is the first national interview that this family has done on this case. And so we need for you to get the word out. And then finally, there's another thing that we want you to do, and we're asking you to do this along with the members of the Shrine of Ma'at. We want you to tweet this video, to tweet about this case, to even tweet the news report that you saw that Sonetta played. We want you to tweet this to all of the folks in news media, people like Joy Reid at MSNBC, people like Don, I'm forgetting his last name now, the brother that is on CNN. We want you to make sure that you get them this word so that we are able to get even more coverage. There's no reason why someone from MSNBC, from NBC, from ABC, from CNN is not actually looking to speak to the Humphrey family. There's no reason why there isn't more media coverage of this, particularly in light of the situation that we're in right now, where we are truly beginning to critique the role of policing. And so those are the things we need you to do. Don Lemon, yes, I'm sorry. Dua Abuka for having my back. Tweet Don Lemon at CNN. Let them know that they need to cover this.
Hey, Jabari, when the video go up, I need you to put the link in the comment so I could pin the comment. So, pin the link. So it'll be
link to the GoFundMe?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
And so I will close out with this in case they didn't see it, because there's people that's coming in that didn't see the video. So I close out on the video.
Yes, and let me say thanks to Sonetta.
All right.
Mom, it's time for lunch.
12 News, the United Food Bank, and Fry's Food Stores are all proud to present the Summer of Million Meals. Your donation will help feed families in need right here in Arizona.
Also new at 5, the family of a South Phoenix teenager is planning to sue the city and Phoenix police over what they're calling a case of mistaken identity. 19-year-old Dion Humphrey was hospitalized in January after police shot him with a rubber bullet, thinking that he was his brother. Team 12's Erica Stapleton has more from the family. They say that months later, they are still waiting for answers. Erica?
Dion Humphrey's family is asking for $11.5 million in a notice of claim filed last week, saying this whole ordeal left Dion scarred, both physically and emotionally.
As I was on the floor with a bunch of weight pushed on me,
19-year-old Dion Humphrey.
I started to tear up and think that this might be my last day.
Remembering the moments he was shot in the chest with a rubber bullet by Phoenix police and then brought in for questioning.
I felt alone, and I was scared.
Phoenix police tell us some of their officers were working with ATF to track down Dion's brother Khalil Thornton, a suspect in a violent armed robbery. When they saw Dion walking, police say an ATF agent mistakenly identified him as Thornton. They used a flashbang, and when Dion started running, they hit him with a rubber bullet. At the time, Phoenix police admitted they got the wrong brother.
And it was learned that he was not, in fact, Khalil, but he was Dion. Nevertheless, Dion was taken down to Phoenix Police Headquarters, where he was interviewed on an unrelated investigation.
Phoenix police haven't said what that case is about, and Dion's family isn't buying that explanation. Dion and Khalil look different. Plus, Dion has sickle cell anemia.
Everyone understands he's very fragile. Yet, when the police saw him walking down the street, for one reason or another, they treated him as if he was some type of a huge threat.
The whole ordeal landed Dion in the hospital for about 3 weeks, and his father says Dion's doctor found scar tissue on his heart after he was hit by the rubber bullet. He might need surgery to have it removed.
And they were just trying to inflict pain.
The $11.5 million the family is asking for would help with medical costs, but his family also wants transparency. They say they have yet to see a copy of a police report or get any background on the officers involved.
We shouldn't have to worry about getting hurt out of nowhere.
We reached out to Phoenix police about the notice of claim, but have not heard back. We're in Phoenix. Erica Stapleton, 12 News.
This is very important. This is very serious, family, that we all got to come together and show love and support, you know, just like every other nationality does. What I'm saying is, as I'm watching it again, let me stop that. As I'm watching this whole thing play out again, they threw a flash grenade out, Jabari. Why? Because they wanted him to run. See, if they wanted to just walk up on him and apprehend him, they could have did that. But they didn't want to do that. They wanted to cause harm. They wanted to bring fear, and they wanted to bring some pain. So they throw the grenade out, the flash grenade, so that if anybody see that, what's the first thing you're going to do? Is run. Jabari, that happens with anybody. So that gives them justification to say he ran from us. We had to shoot him.
That's
you see what I'm saying? This is the games that they play.
That's right.
You know?
That's right.
So what else the brother posed to do if they say, well, why did you run? Brother, you threw a grenade at me.
That's right.
Flash grenade.
That's right. That's right. By the way, when that grenade pops off next to you when you're behind the school where you just dropped off your sisters, you are not thinking someone threw a flash grenade at me.
Right.
You are thinking, what the hell was that? I need to get away from here. And
there you go.
Hear what Brother Williams said, they were chasing him into the line of fire of another vehicle so they could shoot him.
There you go.
So let's be really clear that these tactics show the disregard for our people. We can't allow them to continue to do this. By the way, I want to also say that in the chat room, I want to just go ahead and big up something that Brother Jason Wheaton said. He was talking about a 2016 report that showed, in addition, that white supremacists have actually infiltrated law enforcement. And I want you to also know that there was even a report that came out last month, I believe, that talked about how many white supremacists have been in law enforcement. I'm going to say to you that there are clearly individuals who have very clear white supremacist ideologies in many of these police forces. But I want you to be clear, even those that don't call themselves white supremacists actually harbor white racist ideas. And if they can actually chase down let's be clear, a small framed young man behind a school in the manner they did, shoot at him, injure him, and then take him for questioning for 4 hours, and then come back to actually intimidate the family, we got to stop this. We have to stop this. So we need your support.
At the end of the day, when they finally did release him, they had him in custody for a total of 7 hours. And again, his heart could have ruptured at any point. They dropped him off at the house. They didn't give him any medical attention. They dropped him off at the house where once he came home, we realized where he was. And I immediately took him to the Phoenix Children's Hospital. He was admitted in critical condition. They put him in the ICU for five days total in the ICU, where they were concerned about his heart rupturing. After the 5 days, they admitted him into the general hospital, and he was there for another 2.5 weeks. So the police had no regard for my son's life at all. They inflicted this damage onto him. They did not attempt to correct it in any means whatsoever, and they just dropped him off at home. He did not have the capability of getting himself out of the car. His brother and my wife helped him out of the car because he could not walk. When my son was entering into the police, sorry, that was a call. He was walking to the vehicle to get into the car to come home. The police pushed him and shoved him while he was saying he could not walk. They did not lift him and try to help him into the car. They just said, okay, if you want me to take you home, you gotta walk faster. They have absolutely no regard for life, not even a little bit. And I put a post on Facebook, and to be completely honest, I see a lot of people, Caucasian descent, European descent, who have absolutely no heart towards this situation. They come up with every single excuse. I'm not saying all of them, and I didn't go around and just count them up, but the ones that I noticed, they are really addressing things that has nothing to do with my son. They're trying to take things out of context. They're telling me that my son is a drug dealer. He committed some type of a crime. They're saying we don't believe the story. And they have absolutely no heart when it comes to this situation. And I really don't believe something like that would happen if he was, a Caucasian in North Scottsdale, which is a pricey area in Arizona. That would not happen. And the police wouldn't have treated him as such if we were living in that area. That's completely profiling. That's all this was. They attempted to inflict pain, and simply because they profiled my son as an African-American male, they made a gravest error, and instead of owning up to their error, they compounded it and tried to get him on other charges that had nothing to do with anything, and left him in that dire need of medical attention for that prolonged amount of time just because they made that error. They were willing to risk his life instead of owning up to the error. That's how little our lives mean to them. They made a mistake, and instead of just apologizing, well, let's just let him die.
I know this is hard. I know this is hard, Sen William. I know this is hard. As a father, hearing this happen to your son.
Yes, we want to thank you, Mr. Humphrey, for coming through and sharing your story with us and the House of Conscience family. And maybe we could do a follow-up, maybe next month sometime, to see where we at, see where you at, brother.
Yes.
So we thank you for coming through and taking the time out, bringing your son through and sharing the story with us. Is there anything in closing? How can the people reach you? Do you have an email if they would like to reach out to you on maybe anything to talk about anything?
I have all of my contact information on the GoFundMe. My phone number is on the GoFundMe. My email address, I'll make sure that that's on the GoFundMe as well. I definitely want to appreciate my spiritual leader, Jabari, for coming online. I really appreciate that, that you came to represent us. You don't know how much that means to us, because my son was alone when he was attacked. And then he comes home to our family, and our family has a feeling of being alone as well, because our story is not being told. So being able to tell our story, that's part of the healing. And I want to demand the police report, and I want to demand the video footage, and I want to demand a dash cam, because
That's part of the healing process. We have to go through it. We can't go around the situation. We have to go through it to get completely healed. They don't want to release that. It's going to take a judge to get them to release that documentation, because the documentation has to be cover the whole story, being that it was a special unit task force, which means each one should have body camera.
That's right.
The dash cam, they surrounded him in vehicles. So the dash cam, there has to be so many different angles that show the full story 110%. And none of what they did was appropriate. Not one iota of what they did was appropriate. So they do not want to release that information. I want to demand that information. That's part of our healing process. I have to see it because I wasn't there to protect my son. And it hurts knowing that he was by himself and all he was doing was dropping his little sisters off at the elementary school. They took him down behind the elementary school. He's only a block and a half away from home, doing absolutely nothing illegal. But yes, on my GoFundMe, my phone number will be on there. My email will be on there as well.
All right. Once again, thank you, Mr. Humphrey. Thank you, Dion. And of course, Brother Jabari, thank you, my brother, for bringing this forth to the people.
Thank you. Thank you, family.
All right. Peace and Black Power, family. We out of here. Let's show some love. Hit that GoFundMe up and let's get our brother some help, man. Financial help. Peace and Black Power. Jabari, make sure you write something in the comments so I can pin that.
Absolutely.
Peace. We out of here.
Peace.
All right. We out. Peace.